Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Disco Elysium. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you chose to join me today as we talk to the smoker on the balcony. And for the first time, he's not actually on the balcony. We were talking about him being homosexual last episode, and now we have a thought about whether we are homosexual. Although I don't think there's room given for pansexuality or bisexuality or anything like that. So it's either gay or straight for us. I guess we're gonna find out. What are you doing here?
Admiring the atmosphere.
He smiles.
What about you, officer?
This is where I'm going to go down in history. I'm going to sing karaoke.
Really?
He straightens up, curious.
Well, I look forward to that.
He raises a glass to you. Tell me again about that muscular type who came to investigate the crime.
Oh yes, let's see. He knocked on my door a few days after the lynching. I think he was going through the entire building, asking questions.
What did you tell him?
Nothing. That I didn't see anything.
And he believed you?
Why shouldn't he?
Did you tell him about your friend? He takes another drag of his cigarette before knitting his brows.
What friend?
Your Sunday friend, the witness.
No, I don't think it came up.
What did he look like?
Muscular, handsome,
He shrugs nonchalantly.
strong, like one of those military types.
Was he alone?
Yes, but he was speaking to someone on his earpiece.
His earpiece.
Yes, you know those tiny speaker microphones that fancy security guards sometimes wear.
Yeah, I know exactly who he was then. He was the guy with the mismatched worker clothing in the strike, or non-strike, the scab. He was the scab. What was he saying?
Just reporting back whatever I was telling him.
Besides muscular, did he have any other identifying traits?
Oh, let me think.
He turns his eyes upward in recollection.
He had an accent. He sounded like one of those mercenaries. He sounded vaguely Oranese.
He closes his eyes.
No, not vaguely, scratch that. He sounded definitely Oranese.
Well, thanks for the information.
Sure. Anything else on your mind?
His lazy eyes stroll over your face. I met your Sunday friend.
You did?
A small smile adorns his face.
And how did you like him?
I didn't like him as much as I like you.
Aw, shoot.
He bursts out laughing.
Why not?
Who is he?
A visitor from the first world. He's not like you and me, gendarme.
He smiles, and his smile seems melancholic.
He can always return.
Return where?
To his opportunities in Occident. Sur la clé. Still.
He breathes in and keeps his lungs filled for a moment before letting it out.
His coming and going brings some life to the village. Or is it just money? I don't know.
He stares at the bar. I think it is just money, honestly. What are you two?
Friends, I told you. Sunday friends. Friends who like to get together from time to time.
What does that mean, a Sunday friend? He sighs.
That he won't be there when times get tough, I guess.
Is that even a friend?
It is. On Sundays.
He smiles. Yeah. Why was he staying at your place, though, in the middle of the night?
He has keys. And he likes the view.
He waves gently with his cigarette-holding hand.
To the sea, I mean.
Okay, I don't want to talk about other people. I want to talk about you. He hums.
What about me, gendarme?
I think we're done.
Bye-bye, gendarme.
Bye-bye. What a nice man. I'm practically a shrink minus the diploma, he says. Okay, so we have very little time to apply our psyche. Actually, you have 26 minutes. That's not too bad at all. We could plan, and probably should plan, ahead on what we are going to do this morning. We have a lot of things that we need to do, and we certainly have to talk to the Hardy Boys. The problem is, because I took the drugs, I really should focus on stuff. So, what we're going to look at is our purple skills, right? So we look over here at our map, and we see volition, electronic doorbell. Could do that. It's challenging. Don't like that. Lena, that's good. That's good. I could convince her. That's pretty good. We have a Clashi legendary. We're definitely never gonna succeed at that. Although I'm pretty sure I succeeded at it in my first playthrough. It's fine not to succeed at that one. It's pretty interesting, but I think this way is also interesting. The failure of that, or rather, not having that as a. It's not really a failure. It's just we don't know what that says in this Let's Play, so it's fine. We can understand Clashi that way. Let's talk to Lena, because I can do that. And you can press M. Yep. Lena, it's a suggestion. And unfortunately, we're going to need to spend our last skill point. It's fine. Charm men and women. Play the puppet master. Let's do this. Also, wear the right clothing. Unfortunately, the right clothing is just this, which is fine. It is our signal blue naval coat. Taking back the streets. Wait, what? No, that's not what it is. That's my old one. I Captain. That's what it is. Hey, Lena.
Oh, hello, dear. There you are again.
She sounds glad to see you. Maybe you could convince her to tell you about some cool cryptids.
There's really no point in manipulating anyone. She'd be only too pleased to tell you about her work. Go on and ask.
Hey, Lena. I'd like to hear about some of the cryptids you've studied. Could you just tell me about a couple of them?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Truth be told, I could really use the company too.
The lieutenant throws you one of his looks.
One cryptid, not a couple. One. This won't turn into some kind of cryptid extravaganza.
Cryptic extravaganza? I like the sound of that.
And I don't. Just one.
Ooh, tough choice there.
Is that a cryptid on this pen you gave me? I'm gonna take the pen that she gave me.
Yes. It's the kind green ape. Half war story, half undiscovered species in the genus Homo.
War story?
Yes, it was reported by soldiers in South Safra during the war. The kind green ape would visit bunkers during the night, healing wounded soldiers with its saliva.
Whoa, with its saliva?
Yes, it has amazing healing qualities. Some soldiers reported growing back limbs, regaining their sight.
And there was something about an undiscovered subspecies of man?
Indeed, there is. It's our closest relative among the cryptids. Same taxonomic family, different genus.
Genus. Different genus. You pronounced it properly before. Weird.
Which is to say, the kind green ape is a species with which we share a common ancestor, and that evolved parallel to our own. Just like your partners.
I'm pretty sure Kim is the same species as us. To suggest otherwise is stupid.
The lieutenant looks at you, pleasantly surprised.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to imply that Saolites are inferior to us in many ways.
She turns to the lieutenant.
You are superior. For example, your earwax doesn't have a foul odor like ours does.
And if they're based off of Asian people, then body odor in general tends to be very rare in Asian people, because I think only 5% have the gene that that actually makes you have body odor, where in the Western Hemisphere it's quite a lot more common for people to have body odor. That might be a reference to that. But let me just explain here before I continue with whatever choices my character is going to make. Let me explain to you what the problem here is, and what is being explained here and satirized as well in Lena here. She's talking about her saying that races are superior or inferior, when I actually said that races are real, that he is of a different race. In this case, it's actually species, which is, I think, just done like that so that it is more obvious that it is. She's a race realist, basically. But the implication here isn't, or the problem with saying that Kim is of a different species, and in reality, the problem of treating races as biological, isn't that you're inherently saying that some of them are inferior or superior. That's not the issue. The issue is, and I've said this before in this Let's Play, and it's definitely satirized throughout the game. The issue is that in reality, Kim is not of a different species from us, and in reality, races aren't biologically grounded. Ancestry is biologically grounded, and you tend to be of the same race as your parents, or if you go back far enough, you tend to be of the same race as your grandparents. But that's not actually the case. Your grandparents might be of a different race from you. Even your parents might be of a different race from you, because race is, for one, culturally constructed, and so even the distinction of what is a race is culturally constructed. It isn't a thing that, for example, between species, the difference, what specifies a species, the way we define species, obviously, is that, generally speaking, they can't copulate. Well, they can copulate, they can't have offspring together, and that's what defines a species rather than a race. Or it's kind of complicated. It changes. It's all a big mess. Either way, the point is that you're treating it as a reality. And because you're treating it as a reality, you're right off the bat assigning, and this is all condensed into a single thing, and that's why I'm going into a little bit of a ramble here, because you're treating human races, or in this game, species, as a reality, a biologically grounded reality, not as a socially reality, because obviously they're real, right? They're socially real. Races exist. People are of races. But when I say as a reality, I mean as a biological reality. So excuse me for misspeaking, basically. But you're treating human races as a biological reality. You immediately open the door for this sort of stuff. And where, you say that this race has earwax that doesn't smell, for whatever. My earwax doesn't smell. What? That's not even... Either way, the point is, the reason why it immediately opens the door is because when you define something as a specific race, then you are treating it as a ground floor for scientific development, right? When you analyze the way squirrels, for example, climb trees, you're talking about squirrels as a basis. Squirrels is probably the species, or it's probably not a genus. No, it might be a genus for squirrels. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but the point is, when you are doing a scientific study on squirrels, then you're treating the squirrels and the fact that they are squirrels as a fundamental principle of your study. And what that means is that if you are flawed in understanding that the squirrels are squirrels, then your study is going to be flawed. And obviously, we understand squirrels more or less well, so we can tell when they're squirrels or when they're not. But if there's an otter in the middle of that study and you don't notice that it's an otter, then the study is going to be flawed. And the same happens vice versa. If you're dividing the squirrels based on their toenail length, which is similar to like eye shape or the hair, the style of hair, or the skin color. If you're dividing squirrels based off of socially created differences, which in squirrels doesn't exist because, squirrels, at least their society, doesn't translate to us because they can't tell us anything. But the point is, if you're dividing them wrongly, then your scientific study on squirrels is also going to be wrongly, or is going to come to the wrong conclusions. And this is what happens with, particularly with diseases that affect different races at different rates, or when I say diseases, I could, for example, a good example to look at in modern day as well is the potential for brain damage on the occurrence of blunt force trauma as per the race of the individual. And this is in real life. And the studies show that black people, at least in the United States, have less potential for, this is on average, have less potential for brain damage based on blunt force trauma. And this is I know this more or less because it's a thing that affects real life people, and it affects, I think, football players in the United States. And so these studies that show this, they show it based on data analysis. And the data analysis shows that based on basically historically biased data. It's not the word, racially biased data, I suppose. And the reason why that bias exists has to do with the fact that poor people are usually poorer, and because of that they also commit more crime, and this is all on averages naturally. and they have lower scores in school and that sort of stuff, and that affects the analysis of how much brain damage they get based on blunt force trauma to the head. I don't know if blunt force trauma to the head, I don't know if that's the correct term, but basically that's the analysis. The problem is that if you're treating the study that analyzes whether or how often black people get brain trauma from blunt force trauma to the head, those studies necessarily treat race as a statistical data and not as a base point. The conclusion that you take from those studies is what can allow you to take it as a base point. You can say that black people are genetically less predisposed for brain trauma, whereas that's not actually what the study says. The study just says that statistically speaking, that's not what happens, but that doesn't have anything to do with genetics. For one, because, again, as I keep saying in this Let's Play, and I think I said it today, race doesn't have anything to do with genetics. It is socially constructed. But on the other hand, because this is a typical example of correlation is not causation, and in the particular case of blunt force trauma, it has to do with social economic conditions based on race. And, for example, white families have, on average, 10 times the wealth of black families in the United States. And obviously, people don't claim that that's genetic. Well, actually, racists do claim that it's genetics. But even a lot of racists don't claim that it's genetics. It's just, the thing is, it's very easy for us to think that something as genetic or as biological as brain damage can be influenced by genetics. And as such, if we apply the flawed reasoning that race is biological, then we come to the wrong conclusions. And that's why it opens the chance for this. Now, what happens a lot, for example, with diseases that black people are more susceptible to, like heart disease. Again, it's a good example. Heart disease, black people in the United States, and I'm talking about the United States because that's a good example for everybody to have at least access to, and also it's an example that I do have access to here in Portugal. While we are not necessarily a very diverse population here, racially speaking, but there's people of all races, but it's just not as well studied, and it's also not as diverse as the United States is. So I'm talking about the United States as a means of example. So in the United States, it's also the case that black people tend to have more problems with heart disease, and again, that has to do with social economics, because black people tend to have less wealth, and as such have less access to healthcare, and have less access to good food, and have less access to a bunch of other things like having a job that doesn't stress you out. They also deal with racism themselves, which also is proven to increase stress and actually kill them. Basically, the fact that people are victims of racism raises their stress, and that it's all related to that. But you can just look at the stats and see, white people have less heart defects than black people. Must be in the genes. There we go. But it isn't. That's not what defines black people or white people in the first place. And other diseases like or specific diseases, because heart disease is a syndrome, even though it's called heart disease. I think I'm right in saying that. But specific diseases that affect black people more than other races, or specific races more than other races, tend to be related to ancestry, and because, as I said, you're likely to be of the race of your family, and so if you have a congenital disease, or if your family, or if your group of people, even if your nationality has a specific disease, then it tends to be the case that you will also share it, or the susceptibility for it. Like, for example, Icelandic people tend to have a much greater occurrence of color blindness, I believe. Am I wrong? Is that the one that I'm thinking? Iceland and color blindness? I believe it is. There is one specific disease that's very common in Iceland, and the reason for that is historical, but the original reason, that is because the first settlers of the island, the first major settlers of the island had that disease, and it's a genetically dominant disease, and so it spreads to the whole population, but also it has to do with immediate normal things. That means basically, people of the same nationality tend to have kids together, and that's that's what happens in Iceland. But yeah, it's just her deflecting, me calling her out on her race realism, towards saying, oh, I'm not saying that you're inferior, is just a very, very common deflection. And when this happens in real life, don't let it fool you. Because you will call out, if you call out racist people on their bullshit, and they say, oh, I'm not actually saying they're inferior, they immediately point to how they actually have other racist opinions. And usually it does apply to Asian people. Well, East Asian people tend to be the stereotypical model minority. That's an actual term, model minority. But it's still racist to say that they're smarter because of their race, or to say that they're better at maths, or whatever else. It's still racist because obviously it is, but also mostly because it just misunderstands both the concepts of intelligence and both the concepts of race. Now, it is true that East Asian people have a larger prevalence, or rather a much smaller prevalence of the gene that is responsible for body odor. That is true, and what she's saying here isn't like a 1-to-1 ratio of saying, she could say, oh, I'm not racist. Asians are much better than us. I don't think we're superior. She could be saying that, and then she obviously would still be being racist, but that is a much closer deflection to what happens in real life. But what I was saying is, it is true that Asian people tend to have, or tend not to have that gene, but that doesn't mean that somebody without that gene isn't Asian. And that's why it's, it is a correlation. It isn't a causation. And you can be white and still not have that gene, and vice versa. It just has to do with ancestry and how genes work. But either way, let's continue with Lena.
A tremendous evolutionary advantage, I'm sure. But perhaps we've had enough speculative biology for today?
Speculative biology. What's the biggest cryptid? The lieutenant leans in.
Hey, you promised you'd only ask about one cryptid.
Right. Okay. We can move on for now. It'd be dishonorable to renege on the promise.
I'm glad you see it that way.
He nods approvingly.
Did we have anything more to do here?
No, that's all for now, ma'am. Huh. I like that I didn't renege on the promise. It's also fine because I can come back. Sorry, Kim. I'm usually terrible towards you. I just felt like not being terrible this time. Anyway, we don't have any skill points, which means... Oh, we got a volition for Joyce. We probably should do it. Did I increase my volition somehow? I don't know. I think so. I'm gonna go there. Oh, she's there. Actually, I know what I'm gonna go. I need to go talk to the old fellas and give them my bowl, because I have it. And maybe they're gonna give me a sandwich, because I need it. Ooh.
There. Working class drunk. You know what this means, right?
Case solved.
Cracked it. All in a good day's work.
Wait, what did I crack exactly?
What do you mean, what did I crack? Look at how working class that drunk is.
It's her husband. The missing husband.
Yes, and you found him. Now go and tell the working class woman. Protect and serve, recruit. Didn't she repeatedly tell you her husband isn't missing though?
Give me the champagne. I'm going in.
There's no need for champagne when there's honor, recruit. Go and tell the working class woman what you found. Right.
Not right now. Sorry. We have things to do. Just cut him off. Oh. Who do I need to give the ball to? Maybe René.
Officer!
He rubs his chest and spits.
God damn it. Pull yourself together, René.
He turns to you.
What do you want?
Oh, so many things. I found you guys a new bull. I'm gonna hold the ball out. The old veteran stares at the shot-put ball in silence, then speaks in a reserved voice.
What is this? Are you mocking us? This isn't for pétanque.
Now, no need to get angry again, René. I'm sure the officer tried his best. It's not like there's a bull kiosk here in Martinez.
I'm very sorry. It's the best I could find,
The best, huh?
he says, inspecting the ball.
This isn't even a bull. But fine. I guess you did attempt to right your hooliganism. Consider it forgiven.
He mumbles something to himself. It seems to be a variety of curses.
Well, we have a little bit of a drama thing over here. I found many things about you, René. I'll see you later. Because let's have a chat with... what's his name? I forgot. Forget.
It is such a pleasure to see you again, officer.
But he doesn't actually have anything for us. Okay. Well, let's go to another place. Maybe I should talk to you, though. Can I? I work hard, I play hard. Nobody works harder. Oh, can I kick you?
The worn and beaten wooden planks of the bench do not look overly comforting.
We can sit on benches after we've solved the murder. Let's go.
The lieutenant looks down the street. Oh, maybe I can kick the other thing. Because I wonder if... So, because we have a thought, we now gain health when we attack objects. This is an object. Does it count?
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black.
I'm gonna kick it with my foot.
A hollow ring echoes through the furnace. Your toe hurts.
I lost 2 health based on that. No, I didn't. Miracle. Didn't. It's miracle. Kim, what is this thing? Is it a furnace?
Looks like it. Looks like an old central furnace used to heat the building. It's connected to the chimney.
He opens the door and gingerly peeks inside.
No one has used it in ages. No signs of any recent fire. Only dead rats.
Those voices I heard, maybe it's the malignant entity? Plaisance said it lives in a chimney.
You're right. The rooms do look like they're connected. But malignant entities don't exist. At least not the supernatural kind.
Then what was the chatter you heard?
We know. We know what it was. It was the end of the episode because we're out of time for the day. So, for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Disco Elysium. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead, leave a comment, like the video, but above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.